So as you see by the title of the video, I've proposed the question of whether or not EA's Star Wars Battlefront 2 is actually fun or not here in 2019. Well, I've had the game for nearly a month now, so I'm here to answer that question. I've actually wanted to do this video for a while, but I've been preoccupied with other things, but at least that's actually given me plenty of time to dive further into the game and get a real good feel for it all. I'm going to do this video both for people that are already familiar with the game, as well as for those that, like me, never gave the game a chance. So anyway, a while ago it went on sale on Xbox One for a mere $7.50, and after I did some research and saw that the predatory microtransactions and loot boxes were gone, I figured I'd give it a try myself. I almost bought the Hoth bundle, which came with the Hoth appearances for Luke, Leia, and I think Han, but I can't remember, as well as the first game, which was only like about $2 more in total. I thankfully didn't though, because you can actually buy these appearances in-game for quite a cheap credit cost. Luke's only costing $20,000, considering you start off with I think $80,000 if I remember correctly. You're pretty set right there. That, and as much as I wanted to revisit the first game, having only played the beta and just see how bad it was, I figured I'd save that for another day. Now before I get into the gameplay, I'll briefly talk about characters. You've got your standard 4, Assault, Heavy, Officer, and Specialist classes, which are the ones that you can use without battle points. I'll cover what those are in just a bit. Each class has their own weapon and special abilities, as well as boost and ability cards that increase your capabilities or change your special ability or equipment. These are now unlocked by leveling up and spending skill points. Then you have your weapons, which more are unlocked by getting kills with that class. And after you unlock your second gun, you'll be able to unlock attachments for that gun as well. Then you've got appearances, emotes, and victory poses, pretty self-explanatory. All of which can be unlocked with credits, save for the couple of pre-order skins like Kylo Ren without his mask and Rey's Jedi training outfit. They're pretty cheap too for the most part. Beyond these 4 classes, you will have your special classes that require you to earn battle points to use, which can also be leveled up and upgraded with skills. Then there's heroes, which level up at a slower rate and earn less battle points, but aren't too difficult to level up if you're an okay player or use them a lot. They have their own cards as well as appearances, emotes, and victory poses.
I've become more powerful than any Jedi.
Of course, each hero has their own abilities, just like standard characters, but the Force users of course have Force-related ones. I'll use Dooku as an example since I main him. He has Lightning Stun, Duelist, which temporarily goes into a more offensive saber style, and Exposed Weakness, which slows enemies down and increases the damage they take. Now honestly, Dooku is more difficult to use than other villain characters that I've played, like Darth Maul, where you can throw your saber, chokehold, and perform spin attacks, but I've still stuck with Dooku, and thanks to it, I've actually become more skilled with him. I still suck at hero versus hero encounters for the most part, but at least now I can hold my own defensively in those for a while, as well as rake up a decent kill count against standard troopers. Anyway, I think I've covered character basics enough, so let's move into the actual game, starting off with multiplayer. For me, I've spent most of my time in Galactic Assault, where 2 teams of 20 try to either defend objectives or attack them, depending on which team you're on and what map you're on. You've got the Empire versus Rebellion, First Order versus Resistance, and with the more somewhat recent update, the Republic versus Separatists. So basically how the game plays out is that you start with these 4 classes I mentioned, and you play the objective and fight the enemy team, earning battle points to be able to play as more classes and eventually as heroes. I used to main Assault when I started out, but then I started using Officer for the longest time. But now, besides the start of the match, I main Heavy. But regardless of what you main, it's a smart idea to always start off a match with the Officer if you're fighting towards playing as a hero later, because you can use your battle command on your teammates when they're all grouped up around you and get a head start with some major battle points, since you get battle points for every teammate that is in the range of that ability. This works even better when you have multiple officers and those that reduce or remove your ability cooldown time, because then you can use it again and double dip for those battle points for a real good head start. Now this game is pretty generous with battle points. Even when you die, you gain some battle points, and if you die by an enemy hero, you gain even more battle points. This helps not only to make everyone feel included and discourage rage quitting a little, but also makes it so that even if you're bad at this game, you have a chance to play as a hero when you reach 4,000 or 6,000 battle points, depending on whether you want to play as a current era hero or an out of era hero, which is basically one of a different era from the current battle you're in. Now, I'm not the best player. I can rack up a pretty good kill streak, but I've only ever made it to the top of the scoreboard maybe 2 or 3 times. I'm usually sitting somewhere near the middle, and you know what? This game actually doesn't make you feel bad about it. Like I said, you can be a bad player and still contribute, still get to play as a hero, have fun, and feel rewarded. Honestly, it's to the point where I don't care so much about winning as much as just maximizing my battle point earnings and XP gained for characters. Speaking of heroes, they actually have a learning curve to them. Apparently they used to be unbalanced, but now they massively reward skill. In saber duels, hell, even just against other players in general, you can't just run in and start swinging your saber. Not only due to the stamina, but you will get mowed down pretty quickly, even if you try to use most of your stamina against just deflecting blaster fire. You have to be very cautious and very patient, especially since you only have a set amount of health you can regenerate, which can be increased with skill cards. But now, I'll be honest, at the beginning of my playing, I hated heroes, and I missed how they used to work in the original Battlefront 2. I took half the match to get them and could never get any kills, especially against other heroes. There's still some heroes that I do kinda hate, like Anakin. Honestly, every time I face off against him, he always feels so overpowered, basically grabbing hold of everyone and then flinging them. And the more you damage him, the more he does it. Seriously, I had one time in a heroes versus villains match where he somehow flung me almost completely across the map. But other than that, heroes feel rather balanced. Hell, sometimes bringing a gun-wielding hero like Han Solo to a lightsaber fight can actually yield better results than if you just charged in with someone like Obi-Wan Kenobi. There's still the matter of you'll get swarmed by lightsaber wielders, but most gun wielders I've noticed have some special abilities to fight them off, like Han's shoulder charge that shoves enemies and knocks them off their feet. Then there's Boba Fett, in whom if you're up against and you just got a lightsaber, depending on your character, you might just be pretty screwed as he's fast. Anyway, let's talk about some of the other game modes. Campaign, never played it, not sure I will. Heroes versus villains, there's a few different modes. Ships, which I really don't like using ships in this game. They just felt a whole lot more comfortable to use in the original Battlefront games, whereas for me, it just feels like they're way too fast to control. Then you have the 2 hero modes. There's a regular 4 versus 4, light side versus dark side, where each team has one of their 4 players selected as the enemies targeted, and they have to defend that target while taking out the enemy target. Each target has 10 lives, and whichever team eliminates the enemy target 10 times wins. Then you have the Hero Showdown 2 versus 2 mode. Going back to the Assault section, there's Capital Supremacy, which is the newest one, and is a take on the classic Battlefront 2's mode with command posts, except holding command posts increases your reinforcements, and when it reaches 50, your team moves the fight to the enemy's capital ship. You then have a very limited amount of troops in which you have to try to attack the objectives on the enemy ship. If you fail, it goes back to the ground and you keep fighting till one of the teams reaches the reinforcement limit and attacks again. If you make it back up to their ship, you continue at the objective you left off at so as to not make the game go on forever, because this game mode can actually go on for quite a while, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. If you're wanting a long game and plenty of time to build up those battle points for heroes and to level up, this is your game mode. Also, this game mode has bots just like the original, and they can actually pass as real players most of the time. Of course, you can eventually figure out how to tell them apart, because I've noticed a lot of the time the bots like to defend their command posts and they're just their default assault classes. If you play it right, you can actually take advantage of them and get some good battle points and XP off of them. This mode was booming with players around when it first released, but last time I tried, I ended up sitting in a lobby waiting for more players to join. Then we have the Starfighter Assault mode. Basically the space battle mode, but again, I don't like the Starfighters, but that's just my opinion. I've thrived and never touched the mode. Last, we have the smaller game mode of 8 versus 8, Strike, which is a smaller objective-based mode. Honestly, I prefer Galactic Assault because 40 players is more fun than 16 and provides for more kills. Outside Assault mode, there's Operations, which are special multiplayer missions. Blast, which is a fast-paced close quarters. Extraction, which is exactly that, extracting an object, an Ewok hunt, where you play as a stormtrooper and try to survive the night against Ewoks. Honestly, a bit freaky, but an interesting game mode. Outside of the multiplayer category, we end with arcade mode. Yes, there's actually an arcade mode where you can play offline. You can play solo or split screen with or against another player, and this mode holds up pretty well. You can customize the settings, even setting it so that you can only play as heroes, or just have them available right away, just like in the original Battlefront 2. You'll even earn a small amount of credits if you play this mode while connected to the internet. So that's pretty much it for this game. So is it worth playing in 2019? My answer? Definitely. If you can get a used copy or get it when it goes on sale for under $10 like it often has, do it. With the microtransactions gone, this is actually a good game. Basically all that's left for microtransactions are crystals, which are basically completely useless since you start off with a large amount of credits, so you can basically buy the things you want right off the bat. Your skills are now unlocked, as can some emotes be as well. Everything else, appearances, victory poses, all of that can be purchased with credits that you get by playing the game. Honestly, in the current state, this game is fun as hell. If EA actually had the intelligence and lack of greed to release it at launch like it is now, this could have ended up being one of the best-selling Star Wars games. And I don't say that lightly, given how many Star Wars games are my all-time favorite games. It's fun for players of all skill levels, has plenty of different game modes fitting to your style, online and offline modes, and rewards skill while offering encouragement to struggling players. It'll never have that same feeling that the classic Battlefronts did, but honestly, even if this weren't by EA, it's just hard to beat such well-received classics like the 2004 and 2005 Battlefront games. Do I still wish we got the free Radical versions rather than the EA ones? Absolutely. Because even if this were the start of better Star Wars games and EA learned their lesson from this fiasco, which they're EA, they'll never learn, I still don't think EA deserves exclusive rights to Star Wars. And honestly, if you've seen footage of the original Star Wars Battlefront 3, especially the story cutscenes, you know what is missing. And if you haven't, just look it up right now. Heck, start off with searching up Star Wars Battlefront 3 Order 66. That alone should show you how awesome the original sequel was going to be. But we're here now, and so is EA, so we've got this, which, while not as good as the original vision of a follow-up to the Battlefront series, things have been cleaned up pretty well, and this game has definitely become enjoyable. It's even better, after all this time of being a failure, that the game is still being supported with new content. I mean, there was the Clone Wars content not too far back, and the content in it is my favorite above the rest. But anyway, that's pretty much it for this video. If you haven't played this before, maybe you'll have a reason to check it out now, and if you're an older player who got tired of EA's shit, well, now you've got a reason to come back. This is WarsRC on the Game Clips channel, and I'm out.
You see me, right?